Here's a lullaby for anyone who wants to fly from their hometown where people drown and where the townies die. This old library has 30 books and one.
Hey crafty peeps, so I got some Dr. Martin's India ink and I got a few colors and I wanted to share with you guys some of the colors that I got. So I'm just doing a quick little overview of the colors that I got. It's kind of quick just because I didn't want to waste too much time just showing you each of the colors when you've probably seen most of them anyway, but since I'm going to be using them I just wanted to show you basically what they kind of look like, and they're basically a watercolor that's liquid versus like the more solid ones, and it comes with a little dropper and you need very small amounts to actually achieve a look, very small amounts, and you can water them down and sometimes even less than that because they're very pigmented. I'm using some shimmer mists, which I picked up at Joann's a while back, just to give it a gold undertone kind of look to it, but you basically use water with it to activate it. And I'm using it on Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, but it warped a little bit after the fact, and then my little mini mister with water, so I would maybe use it on paper that's maybe a little bit thicker, 110-pound, or in your mixed media journal, which is what I really plan on doing with it. But I also thought I would show you how you can also incorporate different products such as mixed media into Project Life. I'm using my We Are Memory Keepers punch to punch out a 3x4 card, but since I didn't let it, like, it was almost fully dry but not 100%, I had a little bit of trouble pushing it all the way through thanks to that. So let your cards dry fully, that's the lesson there. Then I'm using a post-it note that has all over adhesive that I showed you guys in a haul a while back. I just traced that with a little pencil and got that shape that's like the hexagon shape, which I could have done with my Spellbinders die, but I really didn't feel like doing that for like what I was trying to achieve, because I figured I could do it just as easily by tracing it, and I'm kind of a little bit lazy for that stuff, so that's what I did. And now I'm just cutting it out so you guys can see basically how you can create a mask from it, and that's part of the reason that I got them to begin with, the all over post-it, because I know they sell that one roll that's really big, which I plan on getting eventually, but for now, since I had these, I thought I'd use what I had on hand, and plus they're really easy to find in Walmart if you're interested in getting some yourself and die cutting out of them. Then I'm using this MFT die, well, not MFT die, stamp, it's by Lana Lang, but I forget what exactly it's called. Before I use that stamp, I decided to use a little bit of the dye on an acrylic block separately. I'm using the acrylic block as a palette with some water, and I know that water looks kind of reddish, but that's because my mini mister had Lindy Stamp Gang in it for a while that was red color, so it's like kind of stained. But I'm just going to use it and create kind of like an ombre type effect. I'm using the green Bombay ink right there, and I want it to be kind of obvious slash subtle, and what I'm doing is every time I'm adding a little bit more water into it so that it's a gradient effect that I'm creating. So it's like just a little lighter than the first time, and then for the last one I'll also be adding more water into the little bit that's left to continue to create that gradient effect. And it kind of reminds me of these little cards I have from American Crafts that have that same look to it, that I'm sure you guys have seen before, that they sell in different colors, and it has like the gradient, but you can still see it. Like I like the effect that it has going there after it's dried, and I decided to use my Heidi Swap, my new inks from her that I picked up at Michael's, to basically create that grid pattern on top of it with my MFT stamp, because I wanted it to have sort of like a grid type pattern to it. I had seen a filler card from Project Life, I forget what kit it was, I think it was Coral, that had a card that looked kind of similar, so I wanted to create my own version. And that's basically what this video is about, is the easy way you can create your own Project Life filler cards just by being a little creative and using what you have on hand, which most of us crafters have so much stuff on hand that, you know, why not use some of it. Those are the strings that I had, not strings, thread that I had from Amy Tangerine's little like you know what that's called, a little sewing stencil slash kit. So I figured I would use that and create a border along the whole thing to really define it a little bit more and just visually make it look like prettier too. And I used the pink one and I threaded it through and then put a little tape in the back to keep it secure. And then I decided I was going to emboss. I have my little Kelly Perky stamp, and I decided I'd use that is it Insta Love? Because I have a lot of pictures that I've loaded on Instagram. Sorry guys, that's my phone. And I decided to emboss it, but then during embossing it, like, it wasn't quite as solid as I had wanted it to be, so I decided that I would pick pieces off the actual embossing with a small brush, so it looked kind of like a distressed emboss, which you guys will notice now that I'm showing it, that there's little bits and pieces missing. I actually did that on purpose because I wanted to like just give it more of a distress. And I got cut off, but you get the gist of it. Now I'm using some MFT dies that I have to punch out basically that large scallop, and it's basically like a banner type die. For added things that I'll be doing, and I'm using some of the yellow as well as some of the pink. I want to go for like a washed out kind of tie-dye type look, so I spray those. And I originally meant to do it to like the banner part, but then that little scallop just fell in there, and I ended up actually really liking the way that it looked. So I was like, you know what, I think I'm gonna stick with that color for just the banner itself, and then I just picked up the rest of the color on that piece of paper because I figured I could use it for something else. And since I wanted a little bit more yellow on the part that had picked up some of the yellow, I just put a little bit more on that little palette and added it to that and put that to the side to let it dry a bit. And then I'm using this other, well, I thought I was going to use this Kelly Perky stamp, but it ended up being quite too large. When I'm doing it there on camera, I'm basically trying to decide if the ring around it would be good, and it ends up being too big. I ended up punching out a 1-inch circle, the one you see there with that extra paper that I had picked up the ink with. And now I'm just cutting a little craft circle around that to basically border it, because I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do with my other card that I basically created that had the watercolor effect on it, because I also wanted to use that as another filler card. So I was coming up with ideas, and I saw the vellum and I was like, you know, I think I want to do some vellum. So I sewed around the vellum, and then I put the 1-inch circle on that, and then I added the scallop that I had put the Bombay ink with the yellow and pink behind that to kind of give it a more subtle look with the vellum on top. And then I die cut, or not die cut, but punched out a glitter heart star to go on top of that to create basically my own embellishment for the card. And I really love the way it came out. And then I have those little banner dies left over from the MFT die that I punched, and I wanted to add those to the side as part of the card. So I decided on like the positioning, and I really didn't want to move them, so I just decided to tape them down right there. And then I decided I wanted to stamp on the little tiny banner. Even though you probably won't be able to see it that much, I was like, I want it to say something in the little space that it had, so I decided to use Studio Calico die. Not die, stamp. Apparently I love the word die today. And the Studio G ink, that I actually really like the color of it. It's like a nice little teal, and I'm using a piece of Post-it tape to separate the word, because I wanted it to go downward instead of across so that you could see it on that little piece. And then it says make a smile, but when I put the stickers, it's gonna make sense. It's actually gonna say you make me smile. So I'm just adding taking off the little pieces from the foam tape, because I want it to be slightly dimensional but not too dimensional, so I added that foam tape that I had that's not like very high up. And then I have these snap stickers that I got a while ago, and I really like the color pink that they are. They seem to go really well with the rest of the colors that I have on there in the pinks. And I figured I would add a U. And at first I was thinking I was going to do it straight across, but I like to be kind of whimsical. So I decided later, which you're going to see, that I kind of put them, I don't know if it's called off kilter, but you know, I just kind of like lowered them down so it looked like a little bit more fun and whimsical. Because that's just me. I'm all about like non-traditional and just being fun about it. I mean, you can be traditional sometimes and that's awesome, but I just love the way these came out. They're kind of non-traditional in the way that I hope you guys like them, and thank you so much for watching this video. Bye!